Hey, what's up guys? Want to do a quick update video on Clutch I. Wanted to hurry up and get an update video out. Normally I would wait until they shed because they look a little bit better, but because the egg cutting on this clutch was so incredibly messy, anybody squeamish would probably have been uncomfortable watching that. So I wanted to just reassure everybody that they were ready to cut, and they are all out of the eggs. They are healthy looking babies, and these are 72 hours. We are 72 hours beyond egg cutting, and all 10 of these guys are out of the eggs. So as always, I'm going to do them in order, just 1 through 10, not best to worst or anything like that. So we are going to start with I10. And as you guys remember, this was a super pastel ivory to a Superfly yellow belly pairing. So all of these babies are super pastel. This little guy right here, or girl actually, is a super pastel ivory, possible fire. I don't think there's going to be any way to tell if these guys have fire or not. So that's really all I can call them, is possible fire. But there you go, there's I10. As you can tell, she is very alert and probably going to try to get away if I take my hand too far away. So get a good look at her. Let's pull her back just a little bit. Get her under the light. All right. So moving on. Moving on to I2. I2 is pretty sure we have a Superfly yellow belly here. Now these are going to be a little bit similar. The Superfly and Super Pastel are going to be pretty similar looking at a glance. What I'm looking for really is this kind of lighter coloration, more of a contrast, like a sharper contrast between the light and the dark. And you kind of have these jagged edges like right here. A lot of times that's a good indicator of fire. You can kind of see that. And I'll show you one that I believe is not a Superfly in a little while, but this is I2. This one, I'm going to have to look at the tags. This one is a female. I'm going to have to look at the tags because there's so many of them that I haven't quite memorized which ones are males and females yet. So I'm just looking at the tags. But this is I2. This is a Superfly yellow belly female, just like her mom. So very, very pretty. They're very pretty combos. All right, let's move on to I3. Now, I3 is really, really interesting. And I haven't really made a judgment on I3 because it is so unusual. But as you can see, compared to I2, this one is extremely blushed out. Look at this snake. This is really cool. But I am thinking that this is a super pastel yellow belly. As cool as it looks, and as blushed out as it is, I do not believe this one is Superfly. And my reasoning, I'll show you why in a little while. Whenever we get to I7, I'll show you why. But in any event, regardless of the genetics on this thing, this is probably my favorite one that has come out of here because this one is just really, really pretty, really cool looking, and also really hyper. This one does not like to sit still. So that is I3, and I believe this one is Super Pastel Yellow Belly. Just an extremely blushed out individual. All right, let's move on to I4, which is going to look remarkably similar to I2. This is another Super Pastel Yellow Belly and also another female. So again, it's pretty much a clone of the mom. If we could get her to unball for us so we could kind of get a good look at her. She's not really wanting to come out of her ball. There we go. A little bit better. Some of them aren't that cooperative. They're a little bit scared. You have to kind of give them that. I mean, they are very small animals, and I'm a very big animal, so you can kind of understand the apprehension. There we go. All right. All right, so there's I4. Another Superfly yellow belly. So very pretty again. All right, let's move on to I5. We're going to have to move on pretty quickly because there's a lot of these guys. R10 and I5 is another Superfly yellow belly. This one is a male. This is a male. Let's get him out. Take a look at him. He's going to look a lot like I4. There he is. He's going to actually pose for us. That's great. That is looking really good. And again, I'm pretty sure this one picked up the fire gene. Just really sharp contrast. Again, got these kind of jagged edges here. That's pretty indicative of fire, just with the contrast and all that. So, I'm going to move on from him, and we're going to go on to I6. Now, I6 is another super pastel ivory. Seen what those look like, but I bet you never get tired of looking at them, huh? This one probably has the least markings on it out of all of them. I tell these guys apart, these four. There are four of these ivories, and I actually tell them apart by the markings on their head. This one has the least markings out of all of them. So if I had them all together, I could probably tell by now. By studying the pictures, I could probably tell this is I6 by now. But another super pastel ivory possible fire. Again, I wish I knew how to tell if they had fire or not, but with them being basically leucistic, it seems like it would be near impossible to tell. I'm wondering if they will get more yellow patterning on them, though, a little bit sharper patterning when they shed, because their dad, Ivan, was also super pastel ivory, and he had a lot more yellow patterning on him than these guys seem to. So I'm wondering if they don't color up just a little bit when they shed. I6, I'm still a little inconclusive on the gender on that one, by the way. Same with I3. That really blushed out one. Okay, moving on to I7. This one is going to be a super pastel yellow belly. This one does not have fire. And there's a couple of things that kind of tip me off to this. I'm going to pull 5 back out. I'm going to pull I5 back out because I think 5 is a pretty good contrast to where I see the fire gene and where I don't. If you look, this one is a lighter color. The light pattern is lighter. And over here, this is more of an orange. This is like a pale yellow that will turn a bright yellow as it ages. This is more of an orangey, and the contrast is not as sharp. So, whereas this one has these kind of really sharp contrast with the kind of jagged looking edges, this one's got a little bit smoother contrast. You don't really see the jagged edges, and the flaming on this one is more orange. Whereas the flaming on this one is actually more silvery if you get it out in the light. It has kind of a silvery texture to it. So this one looks just like Saffron, which is a super pastel yellow belly that I have already that's an adult. So that is why I believe that. And now I'm going to get I3 back out. Let me get 5 back out, and I'll show you what I think about I3, if I can get them all 3 in the frame. Let's just look at 3, 5, and 7 right here, if we can get 3 to be still. But you've got your Superfly, you've got your fire here, and you've got your super pastel here. And we're going to look at I3, and even though this one is really blushed out in the blushing area, I still see a smoother contrast here. I don't see the jagged edges here, and I see kind of a softer, kind of a creamier contrast between the two colors. And to me, it's more similar to this one than it is to that one. once they shed, I'll do a post-shed update on these, and they'll get a little more color to them, and I think I'll be able to tell a little bit better. But for the moment, I believe these two are super pastel yellow belly. This one, super fly yellow belly. So let's get these guys all back in there. Let's get these all back in their tubs here before I get them mixed up. And let's move on to I10. I didn't realize. All right, so this one is I10. I didn't realize how many I puns we would have with a clutch I, but you know, it is what it is. Mom's name was Ifrit, so we got to go with clutch I. Now this guy here is, I believe, a perfect example of why I cut the eggs, and I will defend that. I will always defend cutting eggs. I know that some people do not like to cut them, and those people probably get especially triggered whenever they see an egg cutting like what we had Sunday, with all the egg goo, with all the, you know, the juicy eggs, with the, you know, the fluid going everywhere and everything. You know, you want them to collapse down a little bit and not have so much fluid, but the truth is they were at day 60 and they had not pipped yet, and this guy right here was stiff and stressed out in that egg, and I honestly do not believe that this snake makes it out of that egg if I don't cut that egg that night, because he was out. He was one of the first ones out. That night I had 9 and 10 with their heads out, and then I had him with his head out that night, and then the next day 8, 9, and 10 were out. So, and he had not pipped yet, but he was out of the egg within 24 hours of cutting the egg. So I will argue any day that if I don't cut that egg, this guy does not make it out. And as you can see, he is, or she rather, this is a female. As you can see, she is perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with this animal. It just needed a little bit of help. It just needed somebody to open the door for it, and it came out just fine. So happy to have this one aboard, and we got 2 more to look at. This one is I9, and I believe this is another Superfly yellow belly. Probably. I'm a little bit sketchy on this one because it's got really good sharp contrast, but it's also more orange. So I'm probably going to have to wait until this one sheds before I know for absolute certain what we have here. I am leaning towards Superfly, but I'm not certain because I'm seeing kind of an orange flaming going on. So I'll make the call on this one after it sheds for sure. But this one is a male, and regardless of which genetics it has, it's very very pretty. It's a very pretty snake. I couldn't stop looking at this one whenever it came out of the egg. This was actually the first one to hatch out of the egg Monday morning. So followed very closely by I10 and then I8 a little bit later in the day. So yeah, the more I look at this, the more I'm kind of leaning towards super pastel. Let me get 5 out again, because 5, this guy, he's got to be so sick of me getting him out. But yeah, this is super pastel. This I9 is super pastel. You can see the difference when you sit them side by side. You can see the orange on this one as opposed to the bright yellow on this one. So this one is going to have the fire gene. This one is not. So, okay, I think we've definitely made our call on that one. And if you get, let's get I7, since I know I7 is a super pastel, just for comparison's sake. Let's see if we can fit him right over here, and yeah, you can see that he matches 9. So they're a little bit tricky to tell apart. I won't lie. They're a little bit tricky, but it's doable. So let's see. This is 7 that I'm holding. No, this is 5 that I'm holding. Yeah, I'm just gonna get them all mixed up here. This is 5 that I'm holding. So I'm gonna put 5 back. This is 9 to this side, and this is 7. So if I did get them mixed up, I have their pictures. I have their pictures on my phone with their numbers, so I can match them up with their head stamps if I do get them mixed up. So last but not least, we have I10, which is another super pastel ivory. This one actually has the most black markings on its head out of all of them, although that's still not saying much. And this one's going to be in a ball. He's not really wanting us to, she's not really wanting us to. All of the super pastel ivories that I was able to confidently sex, that would be 3 of them, are females. The only one that is a little bit inconclusive is 6, so I'll probably try to sex that one again after they shed. But I'm pretty sure we have 3 females, at least. So this is I10. This is another super pastel ivory possible fire. So really cool clutch, guys. Really cool clutch. I'm really happy with these. And yeah, we'll get them going and get them to shed out, and then we'll see if we can get them to eat, and they will be available. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I may do another update video after they finish, after they've shed, and get some color to them if there's anything I think I need to clarify. So until that time, I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.